Raw onions definitely pack a punch when it comes to nutrients and vitamins. But did you know that eating them the wrong way can actually be harmful to your health? This is especially true for those over 50. It turns out that raw onions can cause some serious stomach issues, and in some cases, they can even lead to infections. This may sound scary, but it's important to know that these risks are completely avoidable. There are simple ways to enjoy onions safely and still get all their benefits. All you need is the right information and a little know-how about how to eat them properly. And trust me, it's easier than it sounds. Hello, I'm Dr. Ethan Hale, and today I'm here to share some important insights about raw onions, their potential health risks, and how you can avoid these problems while still enjoying this amazing food. Stick around until the end of this video, because I'll also share a unique onion tip that can help you stay healthy and feel great no matter your age. So don't miss out. Watch all the way through. If that sounds interesting, hit the like button right now. Let's dive into how you can safely enjoy onions without putting your health at risk. First, let's talk about why raw onions are so popular and the ways they can affect your health. Onions are one of the oldest and most versatile ingredients in the kitchen. We use them in salads, soups, side dishes, and sometimes eat them raw because they add a unique flavor and aroma to food. But did you know that onions are also packed with health benefits? When eaten raw, they're an excellent source of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. They can boost your immune system, improve heart health, and even help lower blood sugar levels. In ancient times, onions were used as a natural antibiotic and a remedy for many illnesses. However, despite all these benefits, raw onions might not be as safe as you think, especially for people over 50. If they're not stored properly or eaten in large amounts, onions can cause digestive discomfort and, in rare cases, even lead to infections. By understanding these risks, you can enjoy the good parts of onions without worrying about the bad. But before we dive into the specific health risks, let's clear up some common myths about onions. Are all the things we hear about their benefits true, or are some just old wives' tales? One of the most common myths about onions is that they can absorb bacteria if left sliced for a few hours. This isn't exactly true. Onions don't have any magical powers when it comes to cleaning the air of germs. However, if left at room temperature for too long, bacteria can grow on them, which increases the risk of infection. That's why it's important to store sliced onions in the fridge and eat them within a day. Another myth is that raw onions can protect you from viruses and colds. Sure, onions are rich in antioxidants and vitamins that can support your immune system, but they're not some miracle cure for every illness. Onions are just one of many healthy foods you can include in your diet, but don't rely on them as your only defense against sickness. Now that we've cleared up some myths, let's talk about the real risks of eating raw onions, especially for people over 50. As we get older, our bodies become more sensitive to certain foods, and raw onions are no exception. They're particularly risky for people with stomach conditions like gastritis or ulcers. Raw onions can irritate the lining of the stomach, which may worsen these conditions. This is especially important for people over 50, since the stomach lining heals more slowly with age, and irritants can lead to more serious issues. To avoid stomach problems, it's important to eat raw onions in moderation. You can also cook them to reduce their harsh effect on the stomach lining. Cooking onions reduces their potency, making them safer to digest. Another way to reduce their irritating effect is to soak onions in cold water for 10 to 15 minutes, which helps neutralize their sharpness. Let me share an example from my medical practice. One of my patients in Houston, Texas, had stomach problems from eating too many raw onions. Let's take a look at how this impacted her health. Mary came to me complaining of frequent stomach pain. She told me that as she got older, she started having digestion issues, and the pain kept getting worse. During our conversation, Mary mentioned that she had recently started eating raw onions frequently, adding them to salads, sandwiches, and sometimes even as a snack. She ate them in large quantities because she believed they were a healthy food. After an examination and several tests, we discovered that Mary had gastritis, and raw onions had become a major irritant to her stomach. Their strong smell and pungent taste were aggravating the inflammation in her stomach lining, which made her condition worse. I recommended that Mary stop eating raw onions and switch to boiled ones, which would significantly reduce their irritating effect on her stomach. I also suggested soaking the onions before eating them to make them softer and less harsh on her digestive system. A few weeks after changing her diet, Mary experienced significant improvement. The stomach pain went away, and she was able to enjoy food again without discomfort. This case highlights the importance of considering individual health needs and making food choices carefully, especially as we age. But gastritis isn't the only issue you might face after 50. Let's talk about another risk you should consider when eating raw onions. As we age, not only does digestion slow down, but our metabolism does too. For people over 50, this means becoming more sensitive to certain foods that didn't cause problems in the past. For example, raw onions may be too harsh for people with sensitive digestive systems. They contain sulfur compounds that can irritate the intestines, leading to bloating, gas, and even diarrhea. This can seriously affect your quality of life, especially if these symptoms become chronic. To avoid these issues, you can reduce the amount of raw onions in your diet or replace them with milder vegetables like boiled carrots or beets. It's also a good idea to cook onions to make them easier on the intestines. Boiling onions reduces the sulfur compounds that can irritate the intestines. This method can help reduce those unpleasant symptoms and improve digestion. I've seen similar issues in my practice. One of my patients, James from Florida, felt worse after eating large amounts of raw onions. Let me tell you his story. James was 58 years old when he came to see me, complaining of frequent abdominal pain and bloating, especially after eating. He noticed that these symptoms were worse when he ate raw onions, which he often added to his salads. James was a big believer in healthy eating and considered onions a key part of his diet. However, his digestive system couldn't handle large quantities of raw onions, which led to discomfort and digestive issues. After a diagnosis, we found that James had irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, and eating large amounts of raw onions was only worsening the condition. I recommended that James cut back on raw onions and suggested switching to cooked onions, which are much easier to digest and don't cause such severe reactions. A few weeks after changing his diet, James noticed a big improvement. The stomach pain went away, and the bloating and discomfort were less frequent. We've talked about intestinal problems that can arise or worsen with too many raw onions, but there are other risks for people over 50 to consider when eating raw onions. Many people in their later years begin to face cardiovascular issues. Raw onions contain sulfur compounds that, while beneficial overall, can have an impact on blood pressure, especially when consumed in large quantities. When eaten in excess, raw onions can cause a temporary spike in blood pressure for some people, which can be especially dangerous for those with hypertension or existing heart conditions. To minimize the risk, it's important to limit raw onion consumption. Consider reducing your portions and alternating onions with other heart-healthy vegetables like spinach or broccoli, which are safe for people with high blood pressure. Additionally, using onions in cooked dishes is a good idea, as heat significantly reduces their effect on the body. And as usual, let me back up what I've shared with an example from my medical practice. William from Chicago recently reached out to me, complaining of frequent pressure spikes, especially after eating. He mentioned that he had recently increased his consumption of raw onions, thinking they would help improve his heart and blood vessel health. However, despite his efforts, his blood pressure issues only worsened, and it became harder for him to manage. After the necessary tests, we concluded that onions weren't as safe for William as he had thought. I advised him to reduce the amount of raw onions in his diet and replace them with heart-healthy vegetables. He began using onions only in cooked forms, like boiled or baked, and he also cut back on the portions. A few weeks later, William noticed that his blood pressure spikes became less frequent and his condition improved. This situation clearly illustrates how important it is to be mindful of certain foods, especially if you're at risk for heart disease. We've discussed 3 main health risks that can arise from eating raw onions after 50: stomach issues, intestinal problems, and cardiovascular concerns. However, all of these risks can be minimized if you know how to eat this vegetable correctly. Simply limiting its raw consumption and using the right cooking methods can help you avoid unpleasant side effects and keep your health in check. I hope this video was helpful and gave you a better understanding of how to make better food choices. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. I'm always happy to help. Remember, taking care of your health starts with understanding how food affects your body. It's not just about eating healthy foods, it's also important to know how to eat them the right way. Now, as promised, I want to share a useful life hack about onions that can help you look and feel better. Fresh onion juice contains sulfur compounds that help improve blood circulation in the scalp and stimulate hair growth. To take advantage of this benefit, you can apply onion juice to your scalp and leave it for about 30 minutes before washing it out with shampoo. This will help strengthen your hair and prevent hair loss, thanks to the vitamins and antioxidants found in onions. If you've ever tried this method, please share your experience in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you found this video helpful, please like it and subscribe to my channel. Your support means a lot to me. This way, you won't miss any future videos that can help you stay healthy and active at any age. If you're interested in nutrition and living a healthy lifestyle, don't forget to check out the next video. The icon will appear right on your screen. Just click on it, and I'll keep sharing tips and life hacks with you. Thank you for joining me today. I wish you good health and many more years of active living. Remember, health is a treasure worth protecting. See you soon in the next video. Stay healthy.